so I'm tired.
So good to see everybody.
I know.
Oh,
It's making me smile just to look at the pictures.
yes.
Oh, Joe Sider.
So I have
Joe.
something to say though about that show. I didn't get anything into the show and I thought my work was very good.
Oh,
The AA show.
Oh,
Yeah, I understand your pain. Been there many times.
Yes,
Hi there, am I on?
Melody, you were
What?
gonna say something?
Am I on?
No, I mean, I
guys?
think we've all had that, right? You start developing a kind of a thick skin. Hey,
Zita.
Zita.
I'm not a painter. I
Hi,
don't call
Zita.
myself a painter, but
Hi there.
my works were oil paintings of the Challenger astronauts, and I thought they were very good.
Oh,
Oh.
interesting.
Those were the portraits, right?
Well, you know, we do have the WiVLA virtual gallery that's available. So just saying.
I'm trying to.
Hi guys, wondering, am I on?
you're
Yes.
on. I hear you.
Good to
Good
see
job,
you
Zita.
all.
Good
Are
to
you
see you on there. Here
are you
comes
in
Lillian.
Are you in South America?
No, I am in my apartment here in Houston. Why the
Put
question?
your head so I can see the painting you did behind you. Oh, that's beautiful.
Beautiful.
So much color.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay, where
Yeah.
did Lillian go?
She's there.
There she is.
There's
Okay.
Lillian.
I'm checking people. All right. Celeste said she might be a few minutes late, so.
Cheers, you all.
What is that?
Here's to you all.
Judith,
Anna,
Yeah, I'm trying to get in.
looks
There
good.
you're in.
We see
You're
you.
blurry. There you go.
Okay, I think I'm here.
You are.
Okay.
Jerry Pfister in bed. I love it.
My favorite place.
That's where I felt like being all afternoon. I spent 6 hours. I lost my email and I spent 6 hours today just getting it reestablished.
Oh,
Isn't
Goodness.
that the worst? God.
Yeah, so frustrating.
And
Such
you
a
should
time
be in
suck.
bed, too.
Melody, I had a question. When I was in your studio a couple of weeks ago, you had a book and you were talking about wabi sabi.
Yeah.
What have you
Well-
done with that?
So Silver Street Studios is having a show that starts December 5th. And there's also a reception that evening. And the theme is wabi sabi. And so I didn't know what it meant. And most everybody didn't. And so we were encouraged to get that book.
Oh, I see.
Oh, I love wabi sabi anything.
Yes.
Yes.
So
I have spent probably the last 2 or 3 years at least. I'm focusing on doing that. I drive around during heavy trash day and I pick up things off the curb and anything that looks like it could be part of a work of art. You know, it could be like assemblage sculpture and so wabi sabi is taking usually a man-made object, something that has been, its life has been expended, it's used up and it's being discarded, but you give it new life. So I have given new life to many objects now by using them in artwork. And some of the portraits of the Challenger astronauts were mounted, the portraits themselves were only about 13 by 14 inches, but they were mounted on old discarded American flags. Ragged,
wow.
old ragged American flags.
Oh,
I thought the idea was fantastic, but apparently the third Didn't appreciate it.
Well, we should have a salon de refusee.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ooh,
I wanted to show you my, this is a beautiful vase I got in Arkansas, and it fell off and broke all to pieces. So I put it back together, and then instead of trying to hide it, I outlined it in gold.
Yes,
Oh,
Right?
Love it.
Love
I
it.
do like it.
that is wabi sabi.
Yeah.
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 That is
Yeah.
beautiful.
It is.
Who did
Love
that?
it.
There was an exhibition at the Asia Center, a Chinese artist, Lillian, who did that. That was her specialty. She had these gigantic sculptures of broken porcelain pieces, and they
Oh.
were all joined back, but they were totally reconfigured into one giant sculpture. And they were highlighted, all the cracks were highlighted with the gold.
Cool.
I think that's I don't know if it's a Chinese or Japanese technique, but it's part of the culture, is things that are broken and put together again and made more beautiful.
But I think
A
it's
lot of-
also, they
There's
make,
a name for it. I don't remember.
I
A
think
lot
they
of
also,
Scandinavian designers and artists have adopted it and applied it to
Yeah,
their
wait.
own way of design.
There
But
is an artist from Houston, now in New York, called Schnabel, and he is
Yes.
of Greek descent, and he worked with all those, because the Greek people throw plates to break in celebration. So his montages and canvases are based on that part.
but I think part of it is sometimes when you make something, they would make a mistake in it on purpose to show that it was not made by a machine. I read that someplace.
Yes, that too. I used to get compliments on my pots that were not centered well.
I would like that, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember when I first joined Archway, a man was looking at a piece of mine and he said, "Oh, this is really lovely." And I said, "But well, I'm very sorry." I was very apologetic. I said, "I'm very, very sorry because it's off center." And he said, "Well, that's why I like it. It's so unique." So I learned my lesson.
Yeah. It's not a bug, it's a feature.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we got a good turnout here.
I think Rona missed my 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 crankiness about the show, the VAA show. I was just complaining about not getting into the show.
Oh, sorry. I'm surprised you didn't get in because I know your work is really good, but
No, well, my work is very different.
yeah.
It changes like every 6 to 8 years. My work totally changes.
So I think I was near your house the other day.
Yes?
Yeah, I had to drop off a bunch of folded up plastic grocery bags for National Council of Jewish Women's, and it was on Kingfisher.
Kingfisher, yes, I know it. Yes,
around the corner.
it's near me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Collecting
yesterday
it for home instruction preschool. I forget what the other letters stand for. It's a program we brought over from Israel that HISD does with parents, with mostly, lower income parents, on teaching them how to work with their children. And with COVID, they're having to send the lessons home. Go to do them. So they were recruiting lots of lots of grocery bags.
That's good. Are they drawing on them?
No, they just not the paper ones, the plastic ones to put the lessons in. To distribute. The ones that we can't get rid of anywhere. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have tons of them.
Use, recycle.
Yeah, the only other thing we use them for is putting the cat litter in the trash.
I was gonna say, I use mine with the cat, yeah.
Yeah, but I've been collecting them for a while. We had so many because I forget to ask. HEB will give you paper, but you have to ask when you order your food. And I always forget to ask. So
HEB and Kroger both have a recycling bin for them.
Yeah, but I don't go into the store, so I'm just doing pickup. And there is a way to ask for paper bags, but I didn't realize it and I always forget now. I'm doing curbside.
Good for
So-
you.
Okay.
I try to remember to take in my grocery tote bags with me when I go in the store.
Yeah,
And
me
that
too.
way I'm not adding to the massive pile. And, you know, I only have one cat, so he's not going. I'd like to go ahead and start our announcements. We have several announcements tonight. And I'm hoping I'm not surprising any of our board members by calling on them because, you know, typical form, last minute, I kind of said, can you announce this? So Marie, can you mention a few things about the virtual gallery? Because now's the time to sign up, right?
Yes, excellent. Thank you. We have the 2 visual artists lined up for January and February. So I'm looking for a writer that would like to participate in January, Feb. And then after that, the following show will be March 1st through the end of April. And for that one, I would like people to submit by mid-February. So by the 15th, that'll give me a couple of weeks to, you know, get all the images sorted out and start working on it. So let me know, send it to the visual email.
I think they just click on the form.
Yeah, oh, you just click on the form and then I'll access it and I'll get you lined up. Now you do have choices, but you know, it's sort of first come, first serve.
Can you go ahead and reserve for later in the year? Like say you want the, you know, July and August or next fall or whatever, and go ahead because it's 2-month blocks of time. So if you think you'd like to do this, go ahead and get booked.
Well, I didn't
do
see
we have
that
it
option.
for long term?
There wasn't an option of a later month when I did it.
So that's me. Okay, that's me. So far, I think I've only got the options out there for what we've paid for. So we just need to extend it. But we really want to have a continuous series of shows, right? And so we really appreciate the artists who have signed up for the next period. And there's nothing wrong with signing up early. You don't have to wait till February to sign up. You can sign up in January for
the March, April show. Yeah.
Right.
Good. All right, so yeah, you
I'll
can, if you
check
have
on that.
questions, contact visual@wivla.org. Marie can answer any questions you have. She's an expert in this now. And we do have, this is a chance for literary to be featured too. So remember, we have spots for literary. It's not just all visual. So this is yet another, you know, opportunity to share your work. So thanks, Marie, for all your work on that.
If I may say, the writing, if you have questions, Ellen did a beautiful job with her 3 haikus and they showcased beautifully. She did a great job sizing them. And so I just kind of played with, you know, with sizing them on the walls and they came out so beautiful. I was very pleased with that.
That's good.
So
And
if you
they're
have
on
any
the,
questions about how to showcase haikus, hit up Ellen.
yeah. And they're on some of those, Melody posted some of them on the Facebook public page, I think. So you want to see what, is it public or the group?
The public,
What
the
you
public
should be
one
in
and then,
both.
and Twitter as
Okay.
well.
All right, so you can go and look and see how it looks on a computer that way. Okay,
Just a word, just real quickly, just a word about the literary. So the way that this can work is similar to what we did with a collaboration. You can have like an excerpt that we can post in the gallery, and then a link that can go to your website or to maybe a YouTube video of a reading of it, or so there is a link that you can add to it. So don't feel like you know, haiku is the only thing that
Yeah.
you can do, or something short, that you can link to the longer version.
Great. Is Gretchen with us tonight, or is she?
I don't know.
Okay. I will go ahead and make the announcement about the compassion catalogs are still available to make a wonderful Christmas gift. So you just go to WiVLA.org, go to our store, and I've shipped out at least 8 of them so far. So people are picking them not just for themselves, but for Christmas gifts. And so go ahead, and it's just very easy. I can send it on to somebody else for you, or I can have it sent to you. So don't forget about the compassion exhibition catalogs. They're so beautiful. So that, and then Sally, did you see my messages about December?
Oh yeah, I wasn't getting my email and I saw it about 5 minutes ago.
I'm so sorry. No, this is a historic event, right? Because we don't normally have any December thing for our members.
Yeah, well, I think I showed you a little snippet of the artist quiz. And can you send out an announcement before to tell people to brush up on their women artists? Because I'm afraid that, you know, I put some easy ones in there, but
And
I want
also
somebody
the
to.
women authors. They have to.
Yeah, Ellen's. Yeah, you're doing the authors. Yeah, yeah. Well, I need to talk to you how you're doing that. But you know, I'm just doing visual. The work that they do, and you have to identify who the artist is. And I've put in a couple of foreigners in there, so you know people might not. You've got to brush up on your women.
And now, if you're wondering what this is, we decided at our board meeting that this has been a tough year, and we want to have a holiday party for our members. And usually November's it. After the literary readings in the November, we're done. And it would be hard to top last year's party and readings that Sally did a fantastic job coordinating. So we just kind of, you know, bugged her into doing, helping with this December one. So it will be the 3rd Tuesday in December, December 15th. And in the newsletter, Sally, we can remind people to brush up on their women authors. And is that right, Ellen? And the visual. So there'll be, and we have some we have some prizes, some other games, some, we have the holiday haiku. We're gonna get some people to read, and it'll be fun just to say happy holidays to each other before we all split off for the end of the year, and to congratulate ourselves that we made it through 2020. So, so please join us on December 15th. You'll read all about it in the newsletter, and that'll be a fun way to just end up the year for WiVLA. Okay, Melody has a couple of quick announcements about what
some really exciting
issues.
Yeah.
Board issues. Yeah, take a big drink of wine, and she's gonna do that, and then we're gonna come back to me, and I'm gonna set up Ellen for tonight. Okay. All right, Melody.
Yeah. So I'm your president-elect, I think, unless there's some trials or something going on. Anyway, so couple of things. We still are in the process of finalizing the board. We are still looking for a membership co-chair to work with Sabina, and secretary and a visual co-chair. If any of those 3 interest you, please send up a flare to me or Lee, or Lee or me. We appreciate it. God, I have to be careful with all the literary people here. The other thing is, you know, we're a 501c3 organization, and so we have bylaws that, you know, determine how we run our organization. And one of the things that's in the bylaws is information about how we can change our bylaws. And so periodically we'll look at the bylaws to make sure we're in compliance when certain issues come up. And we'll also review to see if there's any changes that we need to make. And so one of the things that we have to do is before we have the membership vote on changes to the bylaws, because you have to vote these through, we need to announce them in a general meeting. So that is what I'm doing. And then we will be sending out a Survey Monkey to the membership, which, and then also having something in the newsletter. And Haley, I've got that ready to send to you. But anyway, these are the changes that the board has agreed upon that we would like you to ratify. First is Article 5. This is exciting stuff. You know, this is going to compete with the readings that are coming up next. Article 5 of our bylaws provides an overview of the board of directors. And the change that we're proposing to Article 5 removes the limitation of a member serving more than 4 consecutive years on the board. So specifically, in the first paragraph, the 4th sentence, we want to change the following sentence to directors can be elected to the board for a maximum of 4 consecutive years and a maximum of 2 consecutive years in the same position. 2, directors can be elected to the board for a maximum of 2 consecutive years in the same position. Basically, we're getting rid of the 4-year limitation. We don't want any board member to stay in the same position for more than 2 years. So that is not changing, because we want to have the fresh ideas and coming in as often as possible. But we also like to have some continuity. We're kind of like the Senate, and it's like half the board changes every year. And so we have continuity and fresh ideas at the same time. Secondly, Article 7, which describes some of the duties of the officers. The board is recommending changes to the duties of the president and the treasurer. Specifically, the change to Article 7 removes the requirement of co-signing checks over $500 by the president. And also it changes the date of the annual financial report to coincide with the calendar year. Years ago, the fiscal year started in February, or I guess March 1st, and that was changed, but the bylaws weren't changed to reflect that. So we're doing this kind of in arrears. So in the first paragraph of Article 7, we want to remove the following phrase from the president's duty, which is, and shall co-sign checks in amounts over $500 with the treasurer. And then in the 6th paragraph, we're changing where the treasurer shall co-sign checks in the amounts over $500 with the president, and shall at the first meeting after February 28th submit to the board a complete set of the organization's financial records to, I know you're on the edge of your seat here, and shall at the first meeting after December 31st submit to the board a complete set of the organization's financial record. So we pretty much removed the whole thing about the $500 from the treasurer's part, and then amended it to say that the records have to coincide with the calendar year.
Yes.
Okay. But you don't have to memorize this. It'll be in the newsletter. And we will be sending out a Survey Monkey for your ratification.
A quick question for you, Melanie. This is Denise. What was the rationale of the board for eliminating the co-signatures? Is that just an issue because of the challenges with COVID and things, or is that considered a long-term?
You know, these changes were approved quite a while ago. There really isn't a place for co-signing on the checks. And, you know, nowadays we pay things with credit cards, with Zelle. You know, we rarely write checks. Like, for example, the catalogs for the Compassion exhibition were charged. And, you know, and that was over $500. So it's very rare that we even have an instance where we have checks in that amount anymore anyway. And we are not really authorized to have an expenditure in excess of $500 without the board knowing about it and approving it.
Okay,
and Melody, I think a big answer to this also is that times have changed, and with the financial reports that the program that we switched to, I mean, she can fire off that report to each of the board members, which she does before each meeting. And so we're all able to review it. So there are a lot of checks and balances thanks to the computers and Zelle and the credit card reports and stuff that you didn't have if you had one person walking around with a checkbook and nobody knew until they showed the check register. So I think it's a kind of modernization type change that we'll make.
Right.
Hey, thank you. Appreciate you talking to that.
Sure.
Yeah,
No,
can I
thanks
ask
for
a
asking.
question about that too? So most
Mhm.
banks have a way to set up a notification when it's over a certain amount being
Mhm.
spent. Yeah, that would be a great way for some, instead of the signing. It always makes me nervous because I've seen organizations where the checkbooks was
Yeah.
done with one
I-
person and it didn't work.
I don't think you're going to
they're
see
have a
that.
problem, but it's, but like, my bank notifies me when I,
Oh, yeah.
when I charge things on my charge card all the time, or especially online, I get a notification right away.
It's
So
easy enough to do. I mean,
that's set up, and you wouldn't have
it's,
to worry about signatures at all.
that's a good point. It's easy enough to do.
Mhm.
And I'm trying to think,
Yeah,
because I
these
do
are-
have the app, I do have the Bank of America app on my phone. So I can look at our balance anytime, and so can the treasurer.
Yeah.
So,
Now, I think we have, this just allows more checks and balances, and that's what we want. And yeah, we're not making, if you looked, I mean, there aren't that many big expenditures like that. And we do really review those at the board meetings and approve them there. So I think we'll be fine. I think that this is, but it's really good. Any questions? I mean, the board is not some secret society. Everyone's welcome, so yeah, if any questions about anything going on with WiVLA, you just contact any of the board members and we can help you. And you have something you want to sound off about, tell Melody, okay? She's there for you.
okay.
Okay, we're gonna get on with the program and yeah, but any other issues? Yeah, we're using who's that? Google Gmail Suite for our emails, and it's just a huge improvement. So all the board is able to kind of keep an eye on news and requests and things that are coming in. So you can always email info@wivla.org or one of the board members. Now, wait a minute. Yeah, and we'll get the email and we can all look at it. So it's great. We don't have to forward. Okay, now on to tonight's program. You know that we have a literary reading every year in November, and we're not at Archway this year. Usually they set aside November for WiVLA's readings, but we're glad to work all this out. And Ellen has worked really hard to make tonight's annual readings happen. And Sabina and Haley have really helped both the readers and Ellen get comfortable with the technology side of having each reader and for the program. But, and y'all can unmute yourselves for a minute because I want you to be able to support and start the program with a round of applause. But Ellen called me today and she was nervous that she would mispronounce the WiVLA writers' names tonight. And as president, it's my job to put everyone at ease, and I wanted to put Ellen at ease. So I will now run through the list of our talented readers' names. All right, Elena Seaton, Babs Carle, Katie McStay, Lily Sharp, Celia Bunter, Zita Giraldo, Janie Ruffles, Patsy Flanagan, Denny Boston, and Varsha Shah. All right, thank you guys. And you can call me Lisa Steinert. All right, take it away, Ellen. Yeah.
Thank you, Lee. Thank you, Lee. And I'm so excited to be here tonight. And we've been through such a crazy year. we've all been affected by everything that's going on, and what more happiness to share than to talk about going through a global pandemic. And two of the things we're going to do, we're going to mute everybody while the readings are ongoing. We are filming these tonight. We're recording these tonight. They're going to be on the WiVLA YouTube channel. So we want to make sure that we don't have a lot of other distracting noises. So once we mute everybody, please stay muted. If you have questions, comments, what have you, please put them in the chat section. And when all the readings are done, and we have 10 of them, when all the readings are done, then we will get back to the questions that need to be answered, and we will address those. Readers, I am going to ask you, since we don't have as many physical cues when we're meeting on Zoom versus meeting together in person, when you're done, say something like, thank you, or ta-da, or I'm done. So that way we know, immediately to move on to the next reader, so there's not a lag there. And we don't also interrupt you when you're trying to finish. Again, many thanks to Haley, Kyle, and Sabina Gartler. This would not be happening without them. So I'm very grateful. That being said, since I am hosting this, I got to put myself down first. So I will begin my reading. 2020. Is it still 2020? Doesn't this feel like it's going on forever? Self-isolation, quarantine, social distancing, global pandemic. These words were not part of my daily vocabulary last February, but by the end of March, they consumed my world. These are crazy, difficult times. Have I ever survived difficult times before? You bet I have. This doesn't mean this still isn't really difficult, but I know I have some survival skills I can pull from. Most important for me, sense of humor. Can we talk about hand washing? Before February, I always assumed that most people, at least most of the people I knew, were familiar with the concept of hand washing. I never would have guessed that Facebook, YouTube, and television news programs would all feel the need to show tutorials about how to thoroughly wash your hands to keep from spreading disease. How did we keep from spreading disease before? Well, considering the normal annual rates of colds and flu, maybe we didn't. I can remember seeing and sharing the post on Facebook that stated something to the effect of, now that everyone has mastered hand washing, next week we will focus on turn signals. Apparently we're still working on hand washing and haven't graduated to turn signals yet. Maybe that will be one of our New Year's resolutions for 2021. In addition to hand washing, I've become an expert on sanitizing everything I touch. I use bleach to clean counters, doors, door keys, light switches, you name it. If it is in my home, I have sanitized it with bleach. Except for my cat. My cat has assured me that she wants no part of this human drama, and she will continue to keep herself clean as she has done for the last 15 years. The most challenging word I've learned and incorporated this year, Zoom. One of the many technological ways for people to stay connected. I'm learning it, slowly. This is one of the few times in my life when I realized I maybe should have had children, at least one, so that there would be at least one young person in my life who would feel obligated to explain technology to me. Oh well, kind of learned that lesson a little too late, I guess. By the way, where did the word Zoom come from? The definition means to move or travel quickly, which is an oxymoron when it comes to me and Zooming, but I do it because I want to stay in contact with some of the really wonderful people in my life. I'm just willing to bet that when this pandemic is over and we start meeting together again in person, we will complain about actually having to travel through Houston traffic to get somewhere. Yuck. We will think back and remember the good old days when we could just talk to people at home on our computers wearing sweatpants and pajamas. And by that, I mean the people are wearing sweatpants and pajamas. Computers don't generally feel required to put on clothes for Zoom conversations. Well, at least I have time to do all those projects around the house that I never felt I had time for before. Let's see. Have I finished writing the great American novel? No. Have I cleaned out that large walk-in closet? No. Oh well. With the idea that a vaccine is coming within the next few months, I realized that this is one situation where being old has a distinct advantage. I may not be as important as someone in the healthcare professions, and I may not be as frail as someone in a nursing home. But by God, I'm in my 60s, and that is bound to put me in line in front of a few people. Just like the senior citizen specials at IHOP and Denny's, I am more than happy to claim whatever benefits I can for living this long. Has any of this been easy? Heck no. Have there been times when I've become depressed, angry, sad, forlorn, and every other emotion I can name? Heck yes. What do? I look at history. Tough times do eventually come to an end. The Great Depression, the pandemic of 1918, and World War II are just a few examples. I love to read books about people who have survived tough times. I have read historical fiction and many biographies by people who know what surviving hard times is all about. I have a collection of quotes from women who have lived and survived any manner of circumstances. Maya Angelou wrote a book of poetry with the title, Still I Rise. The first verse of her poem by that same name says, "You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still, like dust, I'll rise." J.K. Rowling once said, "Rock bottom became the solid foundation in which I rebuilt my life." Have I ever said anything so inspirational? I doubt it. My personal style is a little different, more along the lines of Dorothy Parker, the infamous American poet and critic. Anytime someone knocked on her door, she was known to say something like, "Oh, and what fresh hell is this?" Which pretty much describes how I feel these days anytime I turn on the news. Even if global pandemic isn't the major topic, I'm learning about murder hornets and asp caterpillars, egad, and the record number of hurricanes and wildfires. Even Mother Nature is trying to kill us right now. Maybe we've made her angry. Maybe it's time to find a virgin to toss into a volcano. No, trudging up a volcano sounds like a lot of work, and I don't feel comfortable traveling during this pandemic. So what can I do? I can stay at home, wash my hands, and keep socially distant. When I am at home, I can let go of most television news and focus on my writing. I have an essay in the exhibition catalog for the Compassion Collaboration Project between WiVLA and the Holocaust Museum. I also have, as stated earlier, 3 haiku in the WiVLA virtual exhibit. Of course, my work on the great American novel continues, and I guess there is still hope for that darn cluttered closet. I keep in touch with friends, even though this does involve Zooming. A good social network goes far to helping me stay sane during these crazy times, which is why I'm looking very forward to hearing what other writers have to say this evening. I am sure I will learn something from every one of them. Thank you. And now our next reader is Barbara Carle.
Barbara, you need to unmute yourself. Sorry, thank you.
Okay, thank you. 2020 was supposed to be my year. In 2017, a collection of poems about the loss of my son was published. That spring and summer, I entered the hospital and spent a month in rehab due to a severe back problem. I ended up on a walker and my writing career was postponed. In 2018, a collection of essays about Scott was released, but by the end of the year, my doctor recommended back surgery. Talk about launching your new books. 2018 was spent recovering from surgery and trying to finish the first draft of a new novel. January of 2020, fully recovered, I received an invitation to do a reading in Florida in April for a West Palm Beach book club. I also reconnected with a publisher who a few years earlier had expressed an interest in one of my other books. She asked, "Whatever happened to that novel we talked about? Is it still available?" because I'm still interested. I explained about my recent health problems and my new project. I promised to send her a copy. In February, I had just finished the first draft, so I met with my developmental editor. We discussed a release date in December. Next, I received an invitation to do another reading in San Antonio in March. I was on a roll. But as the March reading drew closer, concern was building about the coronavirus. My daughter and I were scheduled to drive, but one evening, my 3 children and my husband held an intervention. Mom, you're going to be 82 and Dad is 87. He has an artificial heart valve and a pacemaker. You're both high risk. Please don't go to San Antonio. If you catch the virus, you know Dad will never leave your side, just like when you were in the hospital. He'll get sick, and we don't want to lose both of you. I decided to cancel both readings, and Ed and I went into quarantine. And how hard could it be? I'd get work done on my book, and what could Ed do? No basketball, no baseball, no football. Good Lord, there wasn't even curling on television. He ended up watching reruns of every college game played in 2017 through 2019. March passed quietly, April dragged, and in May, everybody wanted out. But we remained in quarantine. Ed and I raised 4 children, and fortunately, we always lived in a house. I worked in the yard, and he had a shop in the garage. He is an amazing woodworker, and he kept busy. But we had recently downsized to a 2-bedroom high-rise. Month after month, our apartment seemed to get smaller and smaller. The highlight of Ed's day became donning a mask and going downstairs for the mail. Work on my book began to lag. I couldn't seem to concentrate. 2 of our children live in the same building. They ran our errands and dropped by to check on us, always masked and socially distanced. We hardly ever saw our other daughter or our grandchildren. We are an affectionate family, and we both felt the strain of not being able to kiss and hug our loved ones. Phone conversations weren't enough. Thank God for golf. Ed finally watched a competition where he didn't know the outcome. I began taking Zoom classes. Connecting with fellow writers was stimulating and inspirational. In September, Ed and I celebrated our 61st wedding anniversary. Miraculously, there has been no talk of a trial separation or divorce. We both wear hearing aids, and I swear I've often seen Ed turn his off. I guess that helps. 10 members of our family were able to gather around the pool downstairs, socially distanced, tables 6 feet apart, wearing masks except when we drank wine or ate the cake. It was wonderful to be together again. We said our goodbyes, standing in a circle, embracing ourselves, simulating a group hug. It certainly wasn't the same, but after 6 months, we were all so happy to be alive and well. I believe the things that have carried Ed and I through this crisis is our mutual sense of humor, a good dose of patience, the ability to be flexible, and our loving family. Oh, and about my books. I have extended my completion date to 2021. You can look for them in February or April or maybe May. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. Now we will move on to Kay McStay.
Okay. I take it you can hear me. I'm showing something. You don't have to read it. I just want you to see the size of this newspaper ad in the New York Times. And here's another one. And now I will begin. First, thanks so much to Ellen and Haley and Sabina. This is such a grand tradition in November, and you have done it again in 2020. And as one member, I'm so appreciative, but I know many of us are. A couple of years ago, WiVLA members did a reading in a response to an art exhibit by Becky Soria, and it was a lovely and inspiring literary evening. And I participated that evening with a piece I called a poem-say, a poem and an essay combined. So here's one for tonight. Newsprint is hardy enough to buoy a ship. Every day with my breakfast and pot of tea, I read the New York Times. A subscription, both print and online, is a big splurge of a monthly budget. Reading the newspaper has become a sustaining activity for my emotions and spirit, indeed for my physical and mental health. Parenthetically, I can add, I read the Houston Chronicle too, but I don't read it daily. In these 21st century dark days for print newspapers, the New York Times makes an effort to call attention to its role as an investigatory journal, checker of facts, distributing fount of information, and clarifying analyst of world news. It does this sometimes by using its own advertising space to promote its missions and responsibilities as a newspaper. And over the past years, there have been dozens of these ads. At the end of October, and during the first few days of November, the New York Times ran the following text. And please note that each phrase ends with a period, full stop. What to see, what to hear, how to choose, who can help, where to turn, how to connect, what to say, how to understand. The truth is essential, period, full stop, again. Thank you for supporting independent journalism from the New York Times, period, full stop, yet again. Let me tell you, I took to this ad like a drowning person seizes a life ring. I took to it and used it as a prayer. I read it and spoke it like a mantra in the middle of the day and night. I read it as a meditation, almost an instruction on how to stay sane in the raging seas of campaign and election news, wildfire reports, pandemic statistics, civil wars in Africa and the Far East, hurricane tracking, economic downfalls and predictions, racial protests and sexual violence court cases, educational changes, matters of life and death. Enough weight to drown a sinking heart. But the words on newsprint gave me resilience, gave me buoyancy, gave me and kept me afloat. I have constructed a buoyant boat from the thin newsprint and the millions of words and the thousands of pictures, charts, and graphs on it. I'm afloat and sailing in deep facts, a stream of knowledge, bearing me along on swift currents in historic days. My paper vessel is hardier and stronger than you might imagine, but I'm also a realist, a thinking boater. I know that I can't float in newsprint. I have to heave my lines and catch the 8 phrases. I need to learn and discern, form opinions, and take heart in critical thinking. So I repeat the 8 phrases with full stops. What to see, what to hear, how to choose, who can help, where to turn, how to connect, what to say, how to understand. They keep me busy, strong, lively in tempestuous seas until the moment I can lift my eyes to the sky, toward the horizon, and see that the clouds are all in layers and I can sail there. Thank you.
Thank you, Kay. Now we will hear from Lillian Tharp.
Oh, this is just incredible. I just love all of you. If you bought an assortment of rubber bands and you dumped them out on the table and picked one out that was about 1/4 inch wide, if you put it down on the desk, it would probably be about 2 knuckles if you squashed it together a little bit. And you could wrap it around a group of pencils, and then you took it off and put it back down, and it would go back to about 2 inches. You could wrap it around a larger group of pencils, take it off, put it back down, it would go back to about 2 inches. You could wrap it around 3x5 index cards. Same thing, take it off, put it down, go back to about 2 inches. You could probably pull it enough to wrap it around 4x5 index cards or 5x7 index cards. Take it off, put it down, it would go back to the 2 inches. Psychologists define resilience as the process of adapting well in the face of adversity, trauma, tragedy, threats, or significant sources of stress. So what in the world could traumatize a rubber band? Well, the example would be, they used to have behind the back seat of the car, they'd have a little shelf, and unusual things would get put back there and you'd forget they were there. So if you put this rubber band back there and you left it in the car in a parking lot in Houston in the middle of the summer, no shade, anything, you left it there for days. If you came back to get it, chances are it would be melted. It would no longer look like a rubber band. And you could even get a single edge razor blade and carefully pry underneath and try to get it off, and you might get it off, but if you could put it in hot water, it's not going to go back to 2 inches. You can do you put it in the oven, it's not going to go back to 2 inches. So it no longer can serve its purpose. It's not that you don't try, but it just cannot be done. So a lot has been written about the circumstances we're living in today and the adjusting to thinking. They're talking about cognitive restructuring. Remember when the GPS lady would say, recalculating. So I tried to figure out how to restructure my brain because circumstances had taken place that I couldn't use. I wasn't the way I used to be. You can increase your resilience, but you have to have intention and purpose. So my life is divided into before Hurricane Harvey and after Hurricane Harvey. Before Hurricane Harvey, I was independent, I was strong, I was decisive, I was very calm in an emergency. I've always been that way. I directed a preschool for years, and one of my teachers said, Lillian can come in and handle a crisis situation, assess it, take care of it, and leave while the rest of us are trying to figure out what's going on. That's just one of the things. I was calm. A lot of times somebody had to make a decision in my family, and I had to be that. And that was one of my gifts. I was calm, I was patient, I could make a decision, and then I would fall apart later on. I love to drive. I drove all over the country, going to workshops and art workshops and things, and I love to drive. I was always a helper. I had training in being a Stephen ministry, which is lay pastoral care, one-on-one counseling, and that a lot of helping people, not giving advice, but just helping people process their information. So Hurricane Harvey came along. We lived in a subdivision. The back boundary was Cypress Creek, and there was always a lot of flooding, but never, ever where we were. We had one of the highest lots in Norchester. With all of the floods, we never had water close to our house. We carried flood insurance for years. We quit carrying it. Harvey came along and destroyed everything. We lost, our house was paid for. We lost our house, we lost a car, we lost furniture, we lost shoes, we lost photo albums. And I was able to interview structural engineers, plumbing engineers, electrical engineers. Can we fix this house? We had that house custom built. It didn't have marble staircases and chandeliers. It was built, it was a functional house, a lot of storage, and it was for our kids and for their friends. And our house was the house that everybody came over to, whether the kids, our kids were there or not, because they were, well, you know, they could do all kinds of things. And so we lost all of that. And the thing that we lost the most, I lost me. And you could stand in our garage. The water came up 18 inches above the outlets, but because of mold, they had to remove all of the sheetrock. And so you could stand in the garage and all you saw was studs all the way through. So I interviewed all these people, and we determined that the house was 4,000 something square feet. Very practical, very functional. They said it would take 6 months, 6 to 9 months. So I figured 9 months to a year. By that time, most of the places, you couldn't lease anything. Everything was already leased. And we couldn't live in the house if we decided to stay there. So we had to sell our house and went from 4,000 something square feet to 1,800, which, you know, I mean, we're like the former speaker, we're 83 and 87, and this was 3 years ago, so I was 80. And we still have boxes in our garage that haven't been opened. I just can't tell you how traumatic it was. So I no longer was, for two months, I handled all of the decision making, and then we moved into the house, and then I fell apart, completely apart. I cried all the time. I didn't want to talk to anyone. I didn't want to talk to my best friends. I didn't want to talk to anyone. David said, I don't know what to do with you. I said, I don't know what to do with me either. I just couldn't, I tried to pull on strengths. They weren't there. They just weren't there. I started to an anxiety clinic, and that worked for a little bit. And because of that, they had me on an antidepressant, tried different ones. And so we're standing in our little new house, and I fell backwards and hit my head and my tailbone, and had ended up with walkers and crutches for several months. And then I was afraid I'd fall again. So I mean, it was very difficult to try to function at all. And I was my worst enemy, they say, because I could hear this voice saying, what's the matter with you? You know, look what's the matter with you? I didn't know what was the matter with me. So I was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder. And I thought, well, I'm not in battle. But they said, yes, you are in battle. You've gone through a very traumatic experience. I can't drive anymore. My car had nothing to do with Harvey. I cannot drive anymore. So we've had a lot of help with our kids. They've taught me how to do the order your groceries online, and a lot of help. Research says that you can develop your resilience. It's like a muscle. You can build it up a little bit at a time. And that's what I had to learn to do, is to take ideas and do things with them a little bit at the time. And on connection, wellness, healthy thinking, and meaning. And I no longer multitask. You know, with 4 kids, you'd have one in your arm and one on your hip and one pulling on your dress, and then you'd be using your hip to do something and your elbow to do something else. I don't do that anymore. I don't multitude. I've learned mindfulness. So I get up in the morning and I have an application, Calm, C-A-L-M. And my dog and I sit down. He loves the lady's voice. And when he hears it, he comes running and he sits down with me and we go through Calm. And then they have you evaluate what you're feeling. And for instance, if you're angry, it'll recommend another place to check into, and then you can work on that. It was hard for me to accept help because I had always been the helper, and that sounds very vain, but that was one of my gifts. I'm a good listener, and like I said, I was always calm. So it was very hard for me to let people help me. But I found out you have to do things for yourself, and one of the things you have to do, you have to keep up your connections, and you have to stick with winners in order to grow. You have to listen and try to take, not to people who listen, but don't try to take over and solve things for you. You just really need somebody who's a good listener. And you have to accept that there's some things you just can't do anymore. It's not a matter of, well, try harder. You know, there's just some things you cannot do. You're like that lump of rubber band. You're not a rubber band anymore. That's not your purpose. The other thing is to take care of your health. And David and I joined this gym. It's not like a regular gym. It's Evolution Fitness and Wellness for people 50 and over, which our kids don't like because they're all in their 50s. But it's on taking care of yourself. We do resistance training and we do Tai Chi. I never thought I would ever see my husband do Tai Chi, but it's hard and it's really beneficial because it helps you balance. So we do that on Zoom 3 days a week. We do WiVLA on Zoom. On Sunday afternoons, we do a family Sunday afternoon get together from 4 to 6, and we're learning more about ourselves and each other than we ever have. And that really has helped. You have to watch out what you're eating. And I get my groceries on pickup, like other people have mentioned. And then the mindfulness, and that's to just stop and breathe. And I would carry my phone around with me because a lot of times I would just have to go in the bedroom, stop while I was doing and just put on the Calm. I just, I didn't like it, but I had to. And I've gotten a little bit better. You have to connect with others, don't isolate. And you have to break your problems down into manageable pieces. And you have to set goals, but not outrageous goals. And I take a lot better care of myself. And now on my phone, at 4 o'clock to 5:20 is my time. It's blocked out. I can use it to sit and suck my thumb if I wanted to. I started reading again. I didn't realize I hadn't been reading, but I don't care if everything's fallen off the wall. I'm going to sit down at that time and read, and I'm really enjoying it. And you have to seek help, and I don't like that. I don't like that. And you have to find something that makes you laugh. I went for months without laughing. And everybody says I have a weird sense of humor, but I went for months without laughing. So I watch, I think James Corden or something like that. there are a lot of funny things to watch. And I always get books, and there are a lot of books out now because of the situation. So the main thing I've done is just to try to take care of myself, and it's very difficult to accept help. But people really want to help. And some of you reached out to me and sent cards and calls, and I didn't write back. And it's not because I didn't want to, it's because I just couldn't. But I love you all, and I really appreciate this group. Thank you. That's all.
Lillian. We will now move on to Celeste Budwit-Hunter. Unmute yourself and give us your wisdom.
There's already been so much wisdom expressed. I'll make my little contribution. And my little resilience buddy is here with me. She quite insists on being in the thick of things. The latest spacecraft to fly to the International Space Station is named Resilience. Soichi Noguchi, who is one of the astronauts who has just arrived from the Japanese Space Agency, said that resilience is power to recover, will to restore. We strive to survive. My body knows a little something about resilience. A body goes through a lot. Early losses, verifiable traumas, devastation in an instant, emotional roller coasters of youth and early adulthood and middle age and this morning, worries about what never happened, desires for something else. A body brokenhearted and longing for another can rest, held in the arms of earth, breathing in as the earth exhales, breathing out fresh air. Memories cast shadows, coloring and shaping the present. The tree stands on its own 2 feet, so to speak, although shadows fall and shift, whispering across the trunk. These shadows, which might be memories, don't affect the tree they fall on. Rest here, the tree says. You're safe with me. I can get hard-hearted, inflexible, brittle, and I can allow the world to touch me, to break my heart. I know I won't dissolve into a puddle because I know how to breathe. I might just notice how shadows dance along the wall, how light bounces off objects just so, and I trust there's something good. Thank you.
Thank you, Celeste. Now we will move on to Varsha Shah. Please unmute yourself and let us hear from you.
Well, good evening, everyone. Here's my take on resilience. I've always loved turtles for their power of resiliency. I once experienced that in Costa Rica, watching a mother sea turtle as she dawdled up from the waters. She dug a hole, then another, covering each mound before laying the next egg and the next, up to 100 in one evening, and slowly drifted into the dark waters at midnight, never to see her progeny again. Of the 100, only 1 or 2 come to life. The rest get eaten by wild animals, a researcher said. Yet the mother continues her birthing year after year. That experience of duty-bound detachment has instructed me this year to live with resilience, to become a diligent student once again. It's been a challenge to stay engaged for hours of Zoom workshop classes, do assignments, creating art on demand, write without judging it, and then keep up with the revision process. I've been going back to books and paying attention to passages that take me through with grace when feeling rattled. Masters like Eckhart Tolle and poets such as Mary Oliver, her poem, I Worried. Gratitude has become my most fulfilling and steady friend. It has become my rosary of the head and the heart. For things obvious to invisible, like fresh air and inanimate objects, like a soap pad with foam. My own precious feet and round the clock waiters such as fridge and stove in the kitchen, laptop and printer, internet and the smartphone. Days when the fatigue of solo cooking returns, not being able to share meals with anyone, act of self-care kicks in. And I thank my ability and resources to do it. I put on some grooving music and energize my spirit with a dance while cooking. Gratitude for the luxury of fresh groceries and accessibility make the anxiety of an hour shopping in a busy store evaporate, like the fog on my eyeglasses. A calm breathing resumes and sadness of not being able to even small talk in the store subsides. I marvel at the medical professionals as well as hardworking crews of sanitation workers, postal service, grocery stores, restaurants, and delivery folks in and out of their trucks. These several months, inspired by millions of volunteers, became active. I'm sorry, I think I'm missing something. Okay, I'm sorry, it's okay. This last several months, inspired by millions of volunteers, I became active in the democratic process. Wrote a few hundred postcards to Texas voters and donated to several Senate races. But above all, the nature has been my ultimate partner in resiliency. Stepping out onto the porch and backyard for sunrise and sunsets, running over to the park to clear my head. Silence and clarity of late night skies and viewing stars on the deck comfort me for a good night's slumber. Daily yoga and meditation have become my regular buddies rather than to-do tasks, as they nurture my body and calm the nerves. Bicycling or stationary bike in the garage, as well as long daily walks, bail me out of the funk by accepting what it is. Being in the moment has taken a round-the-clock commitment to life, as outside engagements have vanished. Laughter and being childlike has so often lifted me out of doldrums. I act as if my arms are tree branches. I play and mix folk songs with hymnals, thumping on a tambourine like a troubadour or a gypsy from room to room. Yet I have wept numerous times when nothing soothes me. Then I visualize I'm an element no less than light or fire or water on this earth. And its job is to burn and to flow. That every problem has a solution, I've learned from this virus. That patience is our best friend. That patience is our best friend as the promise of a successful vaccine is not far from fulfillment. The hardest part of these last 9 months have been lack of physical human touch. One of those moments channeled me into this short poem with which I'll conclude. And the poem is titled, "And If My Wish for You Has Any Power." And this poem was inspired by Hermann Hesse's poem called "To Children" at the end of 1914. It was translated by James Wright from German. So the title is, "And If My Wish for You Has Any Power." You, newborn, into the womb bound, you know nothing of spring 2020, but for its memory, your parents will carry, pass on. A viral microbe rampant, killing with its invisible touch. You at your mother's breast, or striving to arrive into gentle but alert hands. Eyes around you must seem alien. Eyes doting with bodies hovering in plastic armors and shields. Yet, touch is the best human song you'll first arise with, to hold you or soon will. Nevertheless, you will grow and know of the dreams with the dreary of your touched life. You will learn of the farmer and his seasonal prowess, your own unyielding will and mouths of desire, eager hands gifting like the doctor and her promised delivery. You will endure many more struggles for those yet to conceive their sweet breaths, to know such touch is only alone. Thank you.
Thank you, Varsha. Now we will move to Zita Giraldo. Please unmute yourself and share your wisdom.
Okay, here we go. On my grandson's Isaac's 8th birthday, last March 14th, his 5 siblings, 4 boys and a girl, and their parents, we all ran about freely and semi-conscious the way we folks moved around, not because it was Friday evening or the air was too thin, but at this moment in time, we were rather oblivious of the virus that was to bring the world to a jolt and to that United States of America to its knees. That next Wednesday, my good friend Linda was to join us for a few days in 5 mere days we digress. Airports throughout this brave nation shattered. Detroit, Houston closed simultaneously. Canceled flights as stranded travelers watched in horror while some others charged into the stores for essentials and the likes, which added to the chaos. As weeks came and went, this frazzled world moved on forward in hope next month we will wake up from this stupor called coronavirus and all be good again. North Americans of all stripes were committed to soldiering through because this is what has been done throughout the past this century, while being spared of viruses with lives of their own. April, May, and June. The July 4th would this Independence Day mean a free-for-all buffet to party on? Tensions grew as we saw the nation's economy on life support, and the virus misunderstood, let alone contained. In Washington, politicians grew louder and its constituents more confused as to how to sort out the knee-deep mess. George Floyd's murder, one other Afro-American annihilated in a system of racial divides, caused a seismic upheaval amidst a political rhetoric aimed to squelch any multi-layered depth of thought. Some were fine people on both sides, while others set in search for the soul of America. It was a year ago, last March precisely, close to Isaac Tyndall Johnson's 7th birthday, when my studio on 34th Street, it found its way to my home base. I don't know, I don't look back to that spacious dwelling with remorse nor regret. Going there was more of a premeditated execution rather than a sort of tight sequence of experiments where ideas evolve day to day and the blank canvas is there to mess with, where I can stay as long as I want and find my bed is only on the other side of the wall. My bed is only 15 feet away. This arrangement so filled the spot where the between art and life has been obliterated. By way of adapting to my new surroundings, the simple hues of the everyday have woven an otherness in richer shades one can only know when carried for self by self. It is as if life becomes a commitment to eating healthy and resting well, as if spoon feeding the soul, which in turn unleashes your heart, and the circle becomes disciplined, even vicious, an endless source of creative vitality. On this October day, I see the milder autumn sun filter through my patio door, and I wonder if she too is on her 70s. Anticipation, millions of life on hold to be otherworldly. Hundreds of thousand lives that no longer are. A nation in disarray. Someone's got to tell the many stories in paintings, as if she was there. In the quiet of my home, I watch a bumblebee return to its hive, and I see my life in hers, passing by. Say, I was there and here. Thank you.
Thank you, Zita. Now we move on to Janet Ruffin. Please unmute yourself.
Were you talking to me?
Yes, please unmute yourself.
Right.
We're ready to hear from you.
It went off for a minute. I'm just delighted to have this opportunity. I have two short poems that I'd like to read. Resilience. When those times happen, those times you never saw coming, remember, look for tiny green leaves crawling down an enclosed wall where the sun can't enter, and your fingertips touch moist, cool dew sitting on foliage in the dark. Listen for heartstrings advancing, gradually playing a quiet, shifting melody, mysterious, melancholy, confusing your senses, creating sounds you only thought you knew. Feel for stairs spiraling up or down, taking you to places through patterns that touch secret places in your heart, revealing rooms filled with gold. Keep changing until you find a new vibration, the one that sings to you. And then this second poem is kind of a puzzlement to me, but it part of what's helping my resilience is going out walking. But I think this poem has something to do with resilience, you know, and maybe it's hidden between the lines or something, but to me, it's saying something about resilience. I call it number 9. An old man in a rough jacket and jeans stands wobbly in the door of his garage. 6 cats wind around him, rubbing his legs. He is there every day. When anyone walks by, he shouts with his entire body, "Good morning, have a wonderful day." He counts airplanes that fly overhead, shouting out the numbers, as if he has discovered a new star. When I pass him, I always smile and wave, and yet I am horrified. I think I would rather be dead. He is oblivious of COVID-19. He doesn't care who is president. He doesn't worry about having enough money. He doesn't worry about police brutality. Number 9, the 9th plane just flew overhead, and he is full in that moment. Thank you.
Thank you, Janet. Now we will move to Patty, Flaherty, Pagan.
Hello. I want to say hello to everyone from the future. It is Wednesday here on Goje Island in Korea, where I'm here as a trailing spouse with my husband who works for Chevron. So we arrived just before the virus hit, and then we were evacuated to Texas, where in fact the virus became worse, and we were in more danger than we had been here. So then we were repatriated here, and we are back. And so my piece is about kind of the effects of being in those two realities. I had to move to the library in the basement of my apartment building due to some connection issues. So I cannot control what is going on behind me. But it's pretty quiet here. There's only the one poor guy who I kind of chased out by listening to y'all. So hopefully it will remain quiet. I hope you can all hear me and let me know if you can. My piece is to Read the Mountain. Trading comprehension and connection for safety, I forge a new lexicon. Guksabong, rising behind me like a shield, ignites into gold and crimson as America burns. The characters on the mandated mask signs, in the daily emergency warning texts we receive on our phones over and over, wheel before me. Bong bong, the announcement from the intercom fills our shiny modern apartment full of someone else's furniture with incomprehension. Words fall past me onto the heated ondal floor, and I do not understand. Illiterate, I read the mountains. The air is cool and fresh on my forehead and arms. Remember when we could take deep breaths from open, free mouths? I climb high up the stone steps to the beacon. The network of old perches on jagged peaks was once home to sentinels, ever watchful for repeated Japanese invasions of Korea. Now we watch for the convergence of two worlds. My loneliness here is a luxury. The path behind Gutsabong cuts behind the children's garden. Lopsided plants bathe in sunlight and children's laughter. I think of the children in the cafeteria, behind their plexiglass booths, smiling with their eyes. I think of them sitting far apart in the music room, banging on their disinfected xylophones, happy to be out of the house. Butterflies alight, the trees breathe. We haul our suitcases down to the storage with bittersweet smiles. We wear our survivor's guilt and black yak hiking jackets. In the morning, I'll return to Guksabong, gray stones piled high in cairns, wishes and gratitude. They offer understanding when words fail. Nature knows one's needs. Thank you.
Thank you, Patty. And now we move on to Denise Bossarte.
Thank you, everyone. It's been lovely hearing everyone's stories and sharings. When the pandemic lockdown hit here in Houston, we had already had some challenges in my family. My husband had been unemployed for several months and was just about to start work for the census when that was put on hold. I worked for HISD, and so they sent us home a day early for spring break and we didn't go back. And for a long time, it was a question of when and where we would return. And it was a daily struggle to understand what was going to happen. My husband is at high risk in 6 areas. So the fear was intense and still remains very strong for me to figure out how to keep him safe, keep him home, keep him protected. So I had a huge amount of anxiety, and I spent a lot of time with yoga, a lot of time with meditation, and I really leveraged the internet to connect with teachers who were offering meditation, guided meditations, music, whatever I could do that would help to calm and soothe me and keep my brain occupied away from all of the stress and worry about my husband's health. So I decided when April hit that I would take the challenge of April being National Poetry Month, and I would write a poem a day. Whatever came to me in the morning when I got up before I would log into work on my computer. And so it would be varied from just anything about, you know, what was going on in my home to thinking about the pandemic to topics about dealing with issues in my life. And I wrote a poem a day at least, and I ended up recording those and making videos to post out on YouTube for those daily. And eventually I gathered those poems together and I published the poems out on Amazon. I self-published those. So I just wanted to share a few of the poems that I wrote during April, which really this work effort to be creative and to write every day and to turn those into videos really helped me get through. So these are numbered by the day of the month. So day 2 for April 2nd. Awake again at 4 a.m. waiting for the alarm. The cat is a dim ball of fur. Her eyes glow, catching the light from the hallway. She yawns wide, exposing the white daggers of her teeth. Both of us too tired to sleep. And when I was working with these poems, I actually would write 2 versions of some of these. One of the versions would be shorter that I would post out on Twitter, and then the longer version would be the one that I would post out on Facebook. So this is day 3, and it's the longer version of the poem. I stumbled across a picture of my grandfather this week. It took my breath away. I had avoided looking at the face of my abuser for years and years, but there he was, kneeling down beside me in the rain, smiling up at the camera. And there I was, so small, so tiny and breakable. The little girl victim inside me recognized herself in that shy, vulnerable child and wept. Jack Rogers, child predator. Day 6, long version. This one also has an additional title, Mercury Rising. High temperatures on a thermometer used to mean being tucked into bed for a few days, bowls of chicken soup, cool hands pressed to hot foreheads. Now it means hazmat suits, quarantine, and death. The astrologers have always warned us of the turmoil of Mercury in retrograde above us, but we were never told how to deal with the planet-wide Mercury rising. Day 13, long version. This was when the astronauts were coming back from the International Space Station. I gaze up into the night sky and think of the astronauts at the International Space Station looking down on Earth. When they first arrived, they could see the globe lit at night with billions of lights to rival the nearby stars. What must it have felt like as country by country, China, Germany, France, India, US, Japan, cities dimmed in social isolation. At the end of the week, they return. Will anyone be at mission control to bring them home? Day 16, long version. We received our stimulus checks by direct deposit yesterday. It let out some of the air that was the overinflated balloon of my head. But the anxiety gripping my heart is only eased by yoga, qigong, meditation, walks in nature, and my tree-loving kindness practice of sending prayers of love and light to encompass the globe. And the final poem I'd like to share. It's a long version from day 27. The drops in pollution levels in cities around the globe was predictable. But as we sat behind closed doors, the world has come alive around us. Coyotes, bobcats, and bears reclaiming Yosemite National Park. Jellyfish seen gliding through the clear waters of Venice canals. Our planet can heal with us out of the way. Now we just need to figure out how to heal ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Denise. This concludes our readings for this evening. And if you're like me, I am in awe of my fellow writers and everything everybody had to say. A big thank you to everybody for contributing to this, and especially thank you again to Haley and Sabina, who kept this going all evening. I'm wonderfully indebted to both of you. Haley, do we have any questions from the comments section that we need to address?
There are not any questions at this moment.
Okay. Well, everybody can be unmuted, and if you have any specific questions or comments or whatever, we have about 5 minutes that we can do that.
I have no questions, but my God, y'all are amazing. I'm just blown away by each of you. Thank you so much for your heartfelt readings and humorous as well.
Yeah, I wanted to follow up with that. This was one of the most amazing readings that I've heard in the 20 years or however long I've belonged to WiVLA.
Right.
And I'm so glad I tuned in just to listen. And I can't tell you my love to all of you. Oh, Lillian. Oh, everyone. Thank you.
I just wish we had known each other when you were in Dorchester. I can't believe that we were so close and good.
I know, I lived around the corner from you and we didn't know each other.
Oh.
And we both had 4 children. And we're the same ages. My husband's 87. I'm a little younger, but not much.
Wow.
Isn't life funny? Oh.
So are some of you writers keeping a daily journal, or are you just writing when the mood strikes you? Or, I mean, is it a discipline thing, or are you just kind of all over? I'd like to hear from some of our other. Look at Marion is shaking her head. What about you, Marion?
Nope, haven't written a thing except crazy letters to my grandsons when I was in Oregon. And now I'm taking Vicodin, so nothing I'd write right now would be worth reading. Trust me on that.
Oh, maybe.
No, I just had a hip replacement. That's why I'm back in Texas. So
Oh.
I'm taking a vacation. I think I deserve it right now. This was
Good for
wonderful.
you.
Thank you,
All
all the
right.
readers.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I journal, I write almost every day. So it's been a little bit of everything for me.
Good. What about you, Lane?
Every day.
I'm working on a project that's got me really focused, and that's getting my book finished. And so I'm not writing about anything else. So.
And I have to be kicked, pulled, tugged, flapped, all of this self-imposed to get myself to do anything. And I really, really enjoyed the days and how often nature came up tonight in our reading, because in those moments where my brain can relax and let go of anxiety and worries and disgust and anger and more worry, then I can go and write. And those moments are nice, but they're not happening a whole bunch, but they are wonderful. And I'm just also knowing there's this great community of wise women out there. Thank you all very much.
Yeah, very good.
I'm writing quite a bit on my book, and I also write poetry. So I'm writing quite a bit.
Good. So the book will be out in, what did you say? February, March, May, June, July.
Barbara, where can we find your books?
Oh, they're both on Amazon. The poetry one is called Cave Drawings, and the one that is a collection of essays is called The Viking Ship.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
I also have them if anybody's interested. I have them. But.
Oh, and I wanna say, you can see in Joe Zeider's rectangle, she's holding up something.
Got it.
Ah.
Yeah.
Holding her.
We can see it there.
This
What
is
is it?
Oh,
one of the
Good.
spacemen from the challenge
yeah.
against its flag. That's nice, Joe.
Yeah, very nice, Joe. Maybe she can't hear us. Maybe her audio's off.
Oh, no, she can hear us.
If her audio's off, she can't speak.
That's right.
Okay, we haven't heard from Lee Owen. What have you been writing? You've been working on your haikus? Unmute.
Yes, Lee, I've been writing on haikus. In fact, I wrote a little phrase today, so I'm going to meld it together. And I'm also going to write one for December for our contest or
challenge.
But I
Very
do
good.
journal every day too.
Oh, good.
Yeah, Denise, I just overwhelmed by your, the poem a day. My gosh.
Yeah, and it was in the early morning is usually when I'd be laying in bed, kind of half dreaming, and things would pop in. I think the most I wrote in one morning was like 8, but they're not long. Some of the people who shared had very extensive poems. Mine ranged from haiku to, a page or something, but it was just, whatever was top of mind. I started playing around with visual poems and all kinds of stuff too, but it was just really, I needed that discipline to help me not worry. It gave me a container I could drop myself in, be creative, and focus on that and let everything else go for that time. And then extending that by doing the videos and getting them out on YouTube. And, I didn't have a real microphone at the time, so I hid in our walk-in closet. I shut the door and had my cell phone to record. So it would be kind of like a studio without my husband's noise or the cat, and she would want to come in and sit with me. So at one point you hear her coming in, and I just kept that as part of the recording because I thought it was funny that she was there and part of the experience. But just keeping it, not just the writing, but the reading and the videos and things that just help me get through it, because I was losing my mind, and then got to the point I just had to accept that I had no control over what could happen. I come home from work and I put my clothes in the garage and I wash my, take a shower, wash my hair, and do whatever I can to keep him safe. But they made me go back to work, and I can't do much about that, So I've gotten to the point where I still use the meditation and the music in the morning. I'm still, posting various things out on Facebook and Twitter. But I just need that little bit of container in the morning so that I can kind of go in and wear my mask all day and get through it. So, but I'm not writing a poem a day anymore. I only did that for April, and now, whenever the mood strikes me, I'll be creative in that way. Otherwise, I'm just kind of posting photos and quotes and things online right now. But when the mood strikes.
And I just finished attending Denise's contemplative photography class, which was part of my inspiration. So
wow,
your work is inspiring.
Thank you. So that's, yeah, I'll announce there's another one I'm going to have through the University or the Unity of Houston in March. I'll have this 4-week class, and then it'll repeat through the Unity of Arts Ministry in April, and then there'll be the next level class where it'll be available in May. So I'm having lots of these contemplative, and they're all Zoom, so anybody can take them and attend. But it was a lot of fun working with everyone, and we had people from East Coast, West Coast, Midwest, North, South. It was great. So if you
Will you
So how can
advertise
we
it in the
find you?
newsletter?
Yeah, I'm gonna, I'll post a link for the one that is already up for registration at Unity of Houston, through Unity of Houston. I'll put that in the newsletter for folks if you're curious to
Yes.
try it.
Keep in
Also on
mind,
the
you can
Facebook
also-
page.
Yeah, in the Facebook group, also the Facebook group page, which I think Joe, you just got on there today, I think.
Yes, you did.
But any of you guys can post any of your work on there, the group page. So go to WiVLA's Facebook page and then go to the group from there, or put it on your Facebook page in your groups, and you can go straight there. But everybody, you know, that's a place to share your work. So
Yeah, I've got my 2 poetry books that I self-published, the one I was reading from and another one that was beach poems. I'm putting those on Kindle for free. They're out on Amazon. If you want to get them on the Kindle version, that's starting on Friday over the weekend. So you can just find me, Denise Bossarte, on Amazon. I've got a lot of different stuff out there, but it's the 2 poetry books, and I'll post those in Facebook as well. But I'm just running a holiday special where you can get them for free. The beach poems, I actually have the recordings I made of that as an audio book, that if you wanted to listen to that. I'm still working on the poems I read today to get it past the editors at the audio book place has been a challenge. So I'm having to re-record those, but next year that'll be out on audiobook as well.
very good.
It almost sounds like you could do a workshop on
How to do all that, huh?
Yeah.
I'll be open.
Awesome.
Be happy to help.
Okay, I'm writing that in ink.
Final words?
Final words. Thank you to everybody. And I have asked all of the people who read tonight to send me a couple of sentences out of your selection that we can include in the newsletter. So those who couldn't make it here tonight can also get a few bits of our wisdom and humor. Thank you, everybody, so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ellen, for organizing this, and Sabina and Haley.
Awesome.
Yes,
Sabina and
thank you
Haley.
guys.
So much fun.
Good job. Okay, don't forget, next month, we will have, it's rare, we will have a December meeting, and it'll be on the 15th. And just, you know, pop in and join us for some holiday fun.
You have to bring your own beverages and snacks, though. That's
Can I leave with a haiku?
please,
Yes.
please.
When aspen leaves fall, I turned around and you were gone.
Oh.
Bye.
If you put
Thanks, y'all.
Bye, everyone. Okay.
on your left bicep and your left hand on your right bicep, and bring it down to your rib cage and wiggle, and you're hugged.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate all the work that went into tonight.
Absolutely.
All right.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Happy Thanksgiving. Bye.
Thanksgiving. Don't forget to shop local, right, Melody?
Yes.
Yeah,
exactly.
please do. Shop local and Artist Sunday.
Yes, there's lots of art things coming up and Etsy sales and things. So yeah, just watch for your local artists, and everyone, please share what you're doing on Facebook. All right.
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
Okay.
Good night.
All right. I think the dog's chewing something up now. I
Okay.
gotta go. Okay. Thanks. Been alone too long. Okay.
All right. Good night, ladies.
Night.
Bye.